And hey, man, it's Dukes and Bell. It is our behind-the-scenes show as we do each and every day here. Thanks for being here, no matter if you're checking us out on Twitch, YouTube, Insta Live, however you're accessing us, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be on today at 2 o'clock on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We got a lot to get to, obviously. We are still finding out more information about Michael Penix, which we're going to talk about in a second. But, Mike, tonight the Hawks, I think we're going to find out a little bit more about them. They take on the Pistons at home. Pistons have a 10-game win streak going. Hawks have the second longest win streak going in the NBA, I think, or the third, behind OKC, Detroit, and now us. I'm not sure what to make of this because, look, the Pistons are 12-2. OKC's only lost one game. And I want to see what the Hawks do and how they operate against a tough Pistons team. They got a little grind to it. They got a little grit to them. Right. And they got a star, man. I mean, I think Cade is a legitimate, not only all-star, I think he's one of the top 5 or 6 players in the NBA right now. That's starting to shift, right? It was LeBron and Curry. Now it's SGA and obviously Joker. And Cade is in that mix. So just real quick, man, before we get into this Michael Penix situation, because I know Falcon fans are interested in what we're thinking about that. What do you think what happens tonight, man? Does Jalen Johnson go off and to have a 20-20 kind of game to win?
Right. I mean, I would think the Pistons kind of have maybe a year head start on where they are compared to where the Hawks are. They kind of leapfrogged us last year in the standings. But, yeah, they got athleticism. You already talked about Cade Cunningham. We know what this guy's capable of. Jalen Duren, the center, I think he's a couple of years now in the league. He's going for some big numbers now in the paint. So they got some size. We'll see how that plays. They want to get you kind of in that half-court thing. And that's not necessarily our strong suit. We want to make, we want to run. We want to bomb threes. So style makes the fight. But I think if you're watching, I mean, this is one of the elite teams now in the topsy-turvy East. They just smoked the Pacers last night. Obviously, have just one win. So Detroit without Trey, this is one of those games where maybe some folks who feel, we're okay without Trey. Maybe you need Trey in a game like tonight. Going to find out.
No doubt. J.B. Bickerstaff's the coach. I also want to see what adjustments Quinn Snyder does. Now, everybody's going to say this isn't a playoff game. It's not. But it's a real test because if you think you're a competitor in the East, then you're going to show up. This shouldn't be a blowout tonight at home. It should be a close game, and I want to see how they execute at the end of these games, and that comes down to what Quinn Snyder's going to do. Very interesting game. You can listen, by the way, on 92.9 The Game. We'll talk more about it as we move along today. But, fellas, let's talk about this Michael Penix thing. Mike, he is getting a second opinion. What we now know is that second opinion is not here in Atlanta. It is somewhere else. That is why we're waiting to hear what the situation is going to be. Once he gets that and determines whether or not he's going to have surgery or not, he's on IR for at least 4 weeks. So even if he doesn't have surgery, he's done for at least 4 weeks. If he does, he's probably done for the season. And my biggest concern, Mike and Day and Big O, is what's this mean long term?
Because we got no idea what he is. I mean, that's the thing, Carl. We don't know what Michael Penix Jr. is just 14 games into his career, and you don't – I don't think there's a Falcon fan who definitively can say that, he is ready for the NFL. He is, night in, night out. He's passed the test. Jaden Daniels, you don't know what he is. He had an amazing first year. Now this year he's all banged up, and the Commanders are out of the playoffs. Caleb Williams, in his second full year, is starting to turn that corner. Drake May of that draft class and Bo Nix are the guys who look the best. Jaden Daniels aside because of the injury. So with Penix Jr., you don't know. And if we do move on from the head coach and or general manager, a new coach could come in and say, I don't see it. He can't stay healthy. He's not durable. There's too many fundamental issues with his footwork. Even though he was so accurate at Washington, you just don't see it on a regular basis in Atlanta. Or do you say he's only got one target in Drake London and the rest of this wide receiver core is absolute garbage? So let's get some better pieces. Pitts is a 50-50 proposition. We've got individual talent with Bijan, but we don't maximize the talent. So it's really going to be in the eye of the beholder. But as a Falcon fan, I don't know what I want to pull for Michael Penix Jr. because I don't have to go back and start all over. But I'm not sold on Michael Penix Jr. right now. He's had some horrible games this year.
No, he has. Big O, what are you thinking about this? Day, what do you guys think? Because it's not just about this season. This is again going to be a lost season. This is about what happens next year and beyond. Mm-hmm. And do you trust Michael Penix to be the guy? Because again, you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to pay him. That's another part of this. And either you're going to pay him or you're going to cut bait. If you cut bait, then you just wasted a top 10 pick on a guy that you thought was going to be your franchise quarterback for the next decade. So there's a lot here. Big O, what do you think, man?
I got to be quick because I got a crying kid in the background. Yeah, just like you said, it's the year of development next year, not just for Michael Penix, but for this team also. Like, what happens with this team? Like, are we going to be in that dreaded R word rebuild mode next year? Like, there'll be some one-year vet that comes in here and has to kind of helm this thing before Michael Penix is able to kind of come back and
by the way, we did this. His name was Marcus Mariota. And
that went great.
It was hell, right? He was supposed to be the gap guy to Desmond Ridder. And then we know how that went. So even when you bring in these gap guys, look at the Raiders. I mean, Geno's not the future franchise guy. The Raiders are crap.
Right.
So I hate that idea but you're saying, but it's a possibility. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, get ready to learn Russell Wilson next year, Jameis Winston, somebody like that next year.
It's a horrible free agent class.
It's extremely horrible. So, I mean, just, I guess, be prepared for that until Penix is ready to come out there. And then in terms of Penix, like, it just sucks because Penix is a young quarterback, but he's not a young quarterback. It's going to be, his third year in the league next year, but he's going to be, 26 next year? Yeah. So at that point, like, maybe the first third of his career might be kind of getting towards the end of it where, at that point you would know that, hey, this is what this quarterback is. This is the guy we need to go ahead and sign to an extension. Let's go ahead and ink this guy so he's going to be here for the long term because we know he's going to be a long-term guy. But right now the Falcons have no idea if this is a long-term guy. And you just kind of sit in limbo for a year with both Penix and this team in terms of its development and moving forward to the NFC South. And that's a tough proposition for any fan to accept, seeing that we've been in limbo so much of the past 10 years in terms of team development and quarterback development.
Right.
Dede, where you at, bro? Where you at on this Penix thing right now?
The biggest thing for me, or the scariest thing, I'll say scariest, that's the word for me. The scariest thing for me is the uncertainty of the injury and just how long Michael Penix Jr. could be out. And I say that because if, God forbid, this is a long-term situation into which next season means we don't start with him as our quarterback, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Because the Falcons have a decision on Kirk Cousins as well when the offseason comes up. Are you going to cut bait, or are you going to eat that cap space that he's going to be taking a piece of next year if you try to retain him for another year, assuming trying to see what's going to happen with Michael Penix Jr. So that's kind of the part that's scary to me is the how does this team handle next season, assuming Michael Penix is not starting as our quarterback next year? Because to Mike's point, it's not a great free agency class. There's nobody to go out there and get and say, hey, just kind of hold the fort down until we can kind of figure out where Michael Penix is in his recovery, his timeline, things of that nature. I just don't know. That's what scares me the most is that next year, if this is a long injury, I don't know what direction this team can actually go in.
Right. Well, I mean, first thing, who's going to be picking the groceries? Are we going to have Terry Fontenot back? Is Arthur Blank going to fire everybody? If I own the team, everybody's gone. The general manager's had 5 seasons, to put us in the playoffs. He hasn't been able to do that. Now, if you want to say the first year was cap hell, okay, he's had 4 seasons to get us in the playoffs. Can't do it. Now, if Terry Fontenot has any degree of genes of self-preservation in his body, he goes to Arthur Blank and say, you hired Raheem Morris. I didn't hire this guy. I put some pretty good players on this roster. This coaching staff is horrible. He's put together some bad assistants. He had to fire one last year. He's got another guy who's not really good at developing a young quarterback because he's a rookie offensive coordinator himself, and Zach Robinson. So I don't know. We had the debate yesterday on the air. We'll continue it today. Will Fontenot get a chance to stick around? Because as many good things as he's done, I think you could say there's some bad things. Carl's just saying, how do we know how we proceed next year? Because who's going to be in charge? Yeah. Is Fontenot going to retain the position? If I'm Arthur Blank, you say, hey, man, you bought me a lemon. There were a lot of personnel guys wouldn't touch Michael Penix Jr. He was 4th or 5th of all the quarterbacks because of the health concerns. And now he can't stay on the field. Not to mention you doubled down with Kirk Cousins. Now, the only thing is, and this is one where Carl, if we were at the bar we were at last week, somebody could jump in and go, ha, 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 but I'll say it anyway. Maybe, just maybe, Kirk Cousins can come to the rescue. He can be Superman. It would be a hell of a Hollywood script. He did hit, Pitts in the hands. He also hit Drake London on a big pass on the field goal drive that tied the game. So Cousins came in, did make some throws, and I know a lot of Falcon fans are going to roll their eyes when I say it, Carl, but maybe, just maybe, Cousins can. The idea that Cousins was actually going to be here a third year, because don't forget, there is that option. That seems a bit inexplicable unless he really dazzles here in these final 7 games.
Yeah, I think it's a 57 million cap hit with Cousins, right. What I was referring to
Which
earlier.
They're not going to take.
If you
He'll be
decide
gone.
to keep him, that's what I'm saying. So there's just so much uncertainty. That's what scares me is if Penix is out going into next season, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah, the Cousins thing is interesting, fellas, because I mean,
I know.
Who would have thought the idea, like to Mike's point, what if he does finish on a strong note? We don't make the playoffs, but what if he finishes in a way where you go, okay, if Penix is not available for the first half of the season, we don't know the extent of this injury. Let's just hypothetically say he's not playing week 1 through 4 next year. And you've got this situation with Cousins looming, and he plays well enough. Look, guys, I don't want to make this personal, but he's got a house here. His wife's family's here. I'm just telling you, he came here to be here in Atlanta to finish his career. So does he really want to leave if an opportunity presents itself where he can still play? And here's the thing. If that played out, and by the way, this is just crazy talk right now, okay? This is all crazy talk. But by the way, if that was to happen, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I go, I've got the job all next year. I don't give a damn when Michael Penix is coming back or when he's healthy, so I can at least play out that portion of my contract. And I don't know if the Falcons are going to be willing to do that. And to Mike's point, if it's a new regime, they might go screw you, So I don't know where that leaves us, Day, but it is the biggest question mark right now. We went from how do we fix the defense and get more pass rush? We did that. To all of a sudden now, who may be the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons next season because of this injury? And now, to me, that trumps everything. I don't give a damn about all this other roster stuff. If you don't have that fixed, it doesn't matter. I don't care about all this other stuff. So that is now a big concern. And I think the Falcons are going to tell us probably, guys, he'll have if he has surgery, he'll be back. I don't know.
It's not the knee. We said this yesterday, guys. He had the problem with the right knee in college. This is his left knee. So, I mean, and not that's any consolation to fans out there, but this was the rub, on the recruit, on everybody we looked at, Carl. We talked about all the potential, draft class, and it was one that it was inexplicable, and that's why Cousins on draft night goes, "What the blank just happened?" Because he never saw this coming. And again, this guy was the 2-time Offensive Player of the Week. Everybody remembers the comeback in Tampa, the great win out in Tampa. And then, of course, the injury, ironically, he'll start this week in New Orleans where the things wobbled and fell off the rails last year when he got hit. When McGarry tripped on Lindstrom, and then, boom, he got nailed on his shoulder. So
here's what I want to know, Mike.
The receiver core is crap. That's the thing. I don't think we have the weapons to even help him.
No, I agree with you. By the way, Dave Archer joining us, Connor Riley joining us as well to talk about the Dogs and college football. College Football Playoff Committee puts out their rankings tonight. We got a lot of stuff to get to starting at 2. Here's my thing. How does Cousins operate in this offense? The same offense that has been crap all year. You really want to see and compare and contrast? How does he operate in the same offense? Guys, they're not changing the offense. So if he comes out Sunday with a limited wide receiving core, okay, and the Falcons are able to beat the Saints and he has a really good day, then you're going to start to doubt Michael Penix even more. It's the same offense. So that is what's curious to me, Mike, over the next few weeks. If he starts to maneuver in this offense and you're going, why does it look better? That's when you're going to start to question Penix.
Right.
All right, man. We got a lot to talk about. Again, bunch of guests, a bunch of your phone calls, a bunch of interaction. Make sure you follow the show and follow us as well as we start today at 2:00 Wednesday. We are live at Flowery Branch as we'll get a chance to talk to Coach Raheem Morris, player as well. We're not sure who that's going to be, but it just feels different from just a few weeks ago, Mike, when we were up there like, okay, hey, we'll get a couple of dubs and we'll be back in this thing. And now it's like, it's dire.
Well, we'll talk to Coach tomorrow because, like I said, I mean, he's basically said the same thing after every one of these 5 losses. I mean,
what, I'm not saying
that to be a wise ass. Now, because I said to him last week, I go, man, or 2 weeks ago, where's the sense of urgency, man? Your ass is on the line. So
Yeah.
look, if Cousins can put something together, I don't know. I mean, the defense is. We don't play 4 quarters. That's the thing. When the story of this season is written, and one thing I want to bring up also today, a guy brought this up at the end of the show. He said that we were full of crap to think this team was going to win 10 games. He always felt this team, and that's why Vegas had us at 8.5, that this was not a playoff team to begin with. Well, I didn't hear anybody saying that at Flower Branch.
No,
I don't believe Arthur Blank or anyone felt this was a gap year. So, I mean, that's why I felt expectations this year was playoffs or bust.
I did.
Right? I mean, I don't think that was a mystery. But anyway, we'll dive into that later today, 2 to 6.
All right, man. Plus, you won your fantasy game last night, right?
I won by 41 hundredths of a point over Johnny Plops because CD Lamb dropped that final touchdown pass. Dak was going to be the first Cowboy with 5 touchdowns on Monday Night Football, and I beat Johnny's like I don't know. I don't think he got out of bed this morning.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll get into that and much more. Make sure you join us at 2 on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Thanks for being here, everybody.